What is up, everyone? This is the formerly Wild Nutrition Podcast, now Venison Gains Podcast. So we are going through a little bit of rebranding here for episode 152. So I put out a poll and people who voted. It was tough to pick a name. There weren't a ton of people to vote, so it was between Strength from the Stand and Venison Gains. And while I like Strength from the Stand, it's like a more serious tone. This one sounds a little bit more silly, but also eye catching. I was kind of like thinking, like, what would like catch your eye if you were like looking through podcasts that is like Venison Gains sounds kind of funny, but at the same time, like, okay, well, it's actually we're going to go over serious topics on here. And Strength from the Stand, I think it also, Venison Game kind of limits to hunting with the outdoor content. But I think with venison, like you're also looking at like food and not just like pure just hunting. Like venison's obviously like you can purchase venison. So we can talk about that. And it's always like, I've always just thought like having a funny shirt of like Venison Gains as the title. So that's why I decided to go with this one. It did get the most votes. It was close with Strength from the Stand. So here it is. Venison Gains, a fitness, hunting, and outdoors podcast. So that is the new rebrand. I gotta get like a new logo and everything created. We've been busy with other things, with 8WC and the Stop Talking About Fat Loss podcast that I didn't really have time. Well, I didn't know which name we were going with, so I couldn't really create a logo, and I wasn't going to have a logo for all of them. Also, just because I was busy, so I was playing around with a few designs. I'm not sure what exactly I'm going with. I have a design I like, but I don't know if it really shows off the fitness portion. It's like a Euro mount with a mountain in the background. There's a few thoughts. So I'm going to think over the weekend. Obviously, I have like the old logo. I just changed the name and everything on it. So we're just going to stick with that for now and then make changes in the near future for that as we rebrand. But so for this podcast, we are going to, I'm going to get back to bring guests on. And now I'm not going to be conflicted of like, who should I bring on? Because it was some sort of like weird fitness and not really hunting, but also I talked about hunting on the podcast. And so I was like, which guest do I bring on? So this podcast, we're going to bring on hunting guests moving in the future, and fitness guests there'll be fitness guests who like hunt on here. But we're going to move to most of the fitness experts, the guests being on the Stop Talking About Fat Loss podcast. So if you want just straight fitness and nutrition info, Stop Talking About Fat Loss, what that co-host, that's going to be where you find me over there. That's going to be just that information. If you don't want the hunting and outdoor information, if you want more outdoor and hunting and fitness related information, that's going to be here. So we're going to continue that. We're going to just go kind of like create a bigger divide between the two podcasts, whereas this one's going to niche down into more and more outdoor content while the other one's staying in that health and fitness niche. Not going to get away from the fitness stuff since that's literally what I do for a living. So we're going to continue talking about that, but specific to hunting. All right, so let's get into today's podcast. So we're going to talk. I am, when I'm recording this, about ready to go for my first sit. I'm planning on tonight, shortly after I'm done recording this, to head out just for a few hours, more of a scouting trip. I've been seeing deer show up literally at last light, like last light, about 15, 20 yards from the stand. So I'm the potential, they weren't there last night, but they've been there basically the rest of the week. So I'm hoping to get an opportunity tonight, but it's more of scouting out, and then hopefully tomorrow night I can go out. So first sit is going to be tonight. I'm excited about that. Or the plan is tonight. Might be tomorrow, depending on how the rest of the day goes. But I'm excited to finally get out and be able to get back into hunting for the season. The past couple weeks just been too crazy, been too warm. The weather's been obviously with Hurricane Helene. We were just totally rained out the days I could hunt. And then there were a few days where it was just like, it would be a perfect day to hunt, but just with the schedule and the girls and my wife is just not realistic. So that's happening. I have the inline muzzleloader repaired and put back together. By the way, if you get a CVA Wolf, that's what was gifted to me. Don't take the trigger apart. I'm just going to tell you right now, if you get a CVA Wolf inline muzzleloader, do not take that trigger apart to do maintenance. Take it to somebody because those springs are a giant pain in the ass. There's one video on YouTube that explains how to put that thing back together. And so I had to use a punch to hold this one spring back. And while you're holding that spring back, the whole trigger, there's this little spring that has to be under tension, and the trigger and the trigger guard all go together under tension, but you can't put the what's it called? Whatever holds the bar that like slides through to hold it all together. You can't put that on yet because it's too wide to go into the gun. So you have to like put something else in there. So I ended up I tried to use I had like a beat up field point, and I cut off the part that screws into the arrow. I cut that off and tried to use that. That wasn't working. I eventually found in my random box of gun parts this one screw that just fit perfectly, and that worked. I lost the little spring like twice because it's under tension, and then if you accidentally let go, it like flung out, and I had to like go and search and find it in the carpet. And it's a thin, tiny spring, so it's not like easy. And since we had the flooding in this basement, also everything's a mess still. Like my office is organized, sorta, but you're not seeing behind here, which is a fucking mess. So anyways, ended up that worked, so it's back together. The whatchamacallit, the firing pin was a little bit rusted. That spring was rusted out, so it was like getting stuck. It wasn't like coming back in. So I cleaned that up. That is now working. So I need to get to the range now. So first thing I have to do is find primers. So if you listen and you're in Southeast Pennsylvania, let me know. I think I'm just going to have to run down to the Cabela's in Delaware to get some primers, just fine, because I need to get ammo. Anyways, I know Walmart sells ammo. I don't know if they sell 209 primers though. So I have to go and get primers for it, and then it'll be ready to go to the range, get that sighted in, and then hopefully end of October, I'll be able to get out for muzzleloader season, which will be awesome. It'll be my first one. And it'll hopefully, with how predictable the deer are out there, it'll get some venison on our table. At least one deer, if not, 2 deer would not be unrealistic out there. It is there's quite a few deer, potentially 3 even. That'd be a lot. I will say, like, bring 3 deer home would be a lot, but 2 deer would be pretty awesome. So that's that's kind of what's going on with first sit is tonight. Feeling pretty good with that. Next week, I'm going to go out to my parents' property out in Gettysburg. And again, that's fairly predictable, and it works out nice with muzzleloading. Is I'm going to hunt here this weekend. Then I'm going to give this property a break, hunt in Gettysburg next weekend, come back the following weekend, hunt here, and then the weekend after that, I will then be able, if we're doing muzzleloader, I'll be able to go out and hunt muzzleloader out in Gettysburg. So if I harvest a deer next weekend, it'll give it 2 weeks for things to come, pressure to reduce, and then be able to hunt out there. So that's the current situation for October. That's the plan, at least, weather dependent. So let's talk about now staying healthy for the season. So this is something I want to bring up of changes. So obviously you guys probably know I'm dealing with a back injury. I'm not sure if I discussed this on last week's, but we went to Hershey Park. I rode like 15 rides. or we did 15 coasters. We just back to back. It was a very slow day because it was the remnants of the hurricane. So nobody was really out there. Like, it did rain for a portion and the park kind of shut down. We just went and got our season passes at that time, and we got food at that time. Like, it was like, okay. So we did that, and then we just like were able to ride and ride and ride and ride. And eventually I told my wife, I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I have a headache now. I could tell I'm getting stiff. And then like the next day I'm like, my back's stiff, but it wasn't bad. But then I picked my daughter up and immediately like my back seized up. So I'm hoping it doesn't affect me with tonight's sit. We'll see what happens. Just gotta keep it warm. So anyways, that happened. I talked about my shoulder injury with the past couple episodes. So that obviously almost ended archery season early. So as we're going into the season now, we want to make sure that whatever our training plan is, it's going to keep us healthy, which means not pushing yourselves unnecessarily, not doing 1 rep maxes, not doing big challenge workouts where the risk of injury starts to go up, where you're getting so fatigued that you might throw your back out doing kettlebell swing or something, or a deadlift form starts to go down. We don't want to risk the season because the season's very limited. Like, for most of us, we're just going to say fall season's hunting season. So for most of us, we have, up until say early December for the main portion of our hunting, from September to mid-December, and then it's kind of done. Yes, there's late season. Yes, there's spring turkey, and some of you have spring bear. Some of you have early, like August velvet hunts, depending on the state. Obviously, I'm going to be biased towards Pennsylvania and say, basically, for the most part, things are done by early December. So you only have a short amount of time. So this is a good time of year to focus more on not destroying your body, give your body some time to recover, but also realizing that you might not be able to get out and do as many workouts as you were before. It might come down to, are you going to go out and hunt, or are you going to work out? Are you going to work out, or are you going to process the deer? Like, if you process yourself like I do, are you processing it, or are you working out? So what I do this time of year is start to reduce the number of required workouts. So I'll set a goal of doing 3 times per week from October to December. That's the goal for my workouts. Not 5 per week like it was before. 3 times per week, making sure like on days I'm pretty much every day getting my steps in still, getting brisk walks in, like doing that for cardio. But 3 times per week is kind of what I set as my minimum. Can do more, but if it comes down to like, should I work out this Saturday, or it's going to be a perfect day to hunt, I'm going to go and hunt. But if it's a really shitty day, I might stay home and work out. So you want to set a goal and follow a plan that allows you to work out kind of like the minimum amount. So you get the bulk of things in. So I'll do like push, pull, legs. That's kind of like the split I like to run this time of year. And then an extra workout might be arms and cardio and stuff like that. So if I can do 4 or 5 days per week, it's like extra stuff. But if it's like the bulk of the stuff is getting in 3 days per week. And for you, it might be 2 days per week. It might be 1 day a week. And 1 day a week, it might be, okay, we're going to do ABA workout, 2 full body workouts, workout A, workout B, and then, day of rest in between each. So it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday style workout A, workout B, workout A. And it might be like squat, you hit all the major muscle groups. So workout A might be a squat, lat pull down, bench press, Romanian deadlift, lunge, and overhead press, and row, like 7 exercises. It could be less. And workout B, it's like a regular deadlift. Maybe instead of lunges, keep it 6 on the other workouts. So maybe you move lunges instead of squats, or leg press onto workout B, incline bench press, still keeping that overhead press probably, or some variation of it. A row, some sort of vertical pull, like a pull up or a lat pull down, maybe throw some arm stuff in there, but it's like you just follow workout A, workout B, workout A, workout B, and kind of float back and forth. So if you can only do one workout, you're hitting all the muscle groups in that one workout. And then if you can do two workouts, you're hitting all the muscle groups, but slightly differently. So you're not repeating the same workout over and over again. So you can workout A, workout B, and then if you can get a third workout in, you just go back to workout A. And then the following week, you start BAB. That's the ABA type template, is you just like follow that. So you can do 4 times per week, kind of following that. You can do 3 times per week, 2 times, 1 time. It doesn't matter because you're going to keep alternating back and forth. And that's a great one to do this time of year for those of you who can hunt a lot. Like you're not a weekend hunter, kind of like myself, where you can take a lot of time off and go and hunt like a week. And you're like, okay, well, the only day I'm going to have to work out is Monday. Like that's okay. That's what you're going to do. And then you're going to be off. Again, the point of the workouts this time of year is staying healthy. It's keeping those shoulders healthy. So we don't, and everything else healthy, like a low back injury. If you hunt with a shotgun or a rifle, having a low back injury with that recoil can be really detrimental. Like you might be too tense. You might flinch a little too much because you know that recoil is coming in, might hurt. Or even muzzle loader that can have a kick. So like myself, I know like hopefully it's recovered by that point. But with archery, obviously your shoulders need to be healthy, but you also have to maintain that strength so that whatever your draw weight is, you can draw it in November, December when it's cold out. And first thing in the morning, you're out of bed at first light. Let's say you've been in the cold for half an hour, maybe an hour, maybe it's only 15 minutes, but you've been in the cold for some time now. Can you draw that back and hold it steady? Or is that going to be too much with cold muscles? That's important to understand. And that's why we need to continue to work out. We can't avoid like, oh, well, I'm just going to stay healthy by not working out. No, that's also not an issue. So we don't want to take unnecessary risks with our workout and really like try to destroy our bodies and try to really push and aiming for like 1 rep max, 2 rep max PRs all the time. We want to back off that a little bit. Like if you want to do a rep max, aim for like a 6 or 8. Aim for that, not going, or 5 if you're more advanced, 5 would be still safe, but aim for that over doing like a 1, 2, or 3 rep max. We don't want to go that heavy right now and potentially have that risk, or just even potentially be that sore. Also, keep in mind, we don't want to be super sore when we're going out the next day to hunt. If you're a tree stand hunter, we don't want that upper body to be insanely sore. So don't go and destroy your upper body. Like just do normal workouts. Some soreness is fine, but being overly sore is going to hinder you. If you need to walk in, like you're hunting public land, or even you just have land that you have to walk a decent distance, we don't want our legs super sore either, where it's going to be uncomfortable to stand. It's going to be uncomfortable to walk. Chances are being able to walk quietly is going to be an issue if you're super sore, because you're not going to be able to have as much control. So we don't want to drastically change our workout so that we're so sore that also hinders what we want to do. It'll hinder how fast. If you're like a spot and stalk type hunter, one, you're probably going to be louder in the woods, but you're also not going to be able to move as fast because you're going to be sore. It's going to hold you back. So we want to keep these in mind when trying to select the program. Again, for me, I like 3 days a week. And I can do Monday, Tuesday, like Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesdays are usually later night because we do the prime client call. So I can get 4 days a week in often, but I set that minimum. So we want it as 3 days per week. So again, we want to set a goal for like the craziest weeks. What's your minimum? And that's the program, not your maximum. Like not 5 days per week, not 4 days. The minimum number I'm setting for myself this time of year is 3. Most of the time it's 4 or 5 workouts. Right now it's going to be 3, even though with my back injury I haven't done any yet this week and it's Friday. Yeah. But I did get like 20,000 steps on last Saturday, 25,000 actually. So that's staying healthy. That is making sure that you're going to stay on track. You're going to have a successful or fairly successful season. You still need to get the deer in front of you, still need to make a clean, ethical shot. But that's going to take the worry out of, am I going to be able to draw my bow? Am I going to be able to not get injured? That's how we kind of want to design those programs. The programs are designed to help reduce risk of injury, maintain or improve our fitness so we have a better time hunting. But also, we don't want to do anything stupid and put ourselves at risk for injury. Like, we're not doing, well, this is a great time of year to learn the Olympic lift, the snatch. No, terrible time of year. Wait till like after hunting season's done if you want to learn that. We don't need to be like doing terrible form, which it will be while you're learning the snatch, flinging a barbell overhead. Like, we don't need to do that right now. Save that for another time. That's a fine goal for later. There's nothing wrong with wanting to learn that, but save that for later. If you're trying to like compete in strongman or something, some of those movements it's going to be a risk reward. If you're doing competition in December or January, yeah, you'll have to train those movements. So you have to figure out when you really want to do competition. So the way, like when I did bodybuilding, compete in bodybuilding, I don't like dieting this time of year, October, November, December. I like enjoying the holidays and the holiday foods, seasonal foods. So I would refuse to diet this time of year, which means I would only do competitions late spring to early summer. I wouldn't do competitions in the late winter, like January, February. There are competitions available, but that means I'm dieting over the holidays. I don't want to be doing that. That's not for me. So for me, that means when I do competitions, that's going to be later on. So if you're like, well, I want to run half marathon, or I want to compete in a powerlifting competition, strongman competition, if hunting's a priority for you, which I take it is if you're listening to this podcast, then we want to push those other things that you want to do to a time where we have enough time to train for them, but they're not going to interfere with hunting, just to give you the best chances possible for staying healthy during the season. I'm not saying you are going to get injured, but anytime we're really pushing our bodies, our risk for injury pops up. The highest risk for injury is generally when we are doing some sort of competition or really pushing our bodies to the absolute max, because exhaustion can kick in, or it's just like the absolute maximum our bodies can lift, and everything's just pushed right to the limits. And sometimes those limits exceed a little bit, that one little tendon or ligament, or you just had exhaustion and the form was a little bad and things twisted the wrong way, or you leaned over with your low back the wrong way, and it just takes that one little thing. Or sometimes it's you're so sore, like me with Hershey Park, you're so sore the next day that you're moving in ways that aren't great for you, and that's when your low back goes out or something happens. All right, so last thing we're going to cover with today is going to be tree stand snacks. Okay. This one, there's a time and place for tradition. So a lot of people will have snacks they like to take out for opening day or certain times as tradition, which is fine. That's fine. But when we are up in the stand, for those of us who are stand hunters, we're not out in the backcountry. We're not hiking in 5 miles. We are hunting a tree stand that is, maybe a mile from the road or a quarter mile from the road or something. Like it's not really that far. And then we're going to be sitting. Yes, we're going to be sitting in the cold, and it takes energy for our bodies to stay warm, but it's not that energy intensive. We're going to be sitting or standing most of the day. So when it comes to tree stand snacks, you don't need an entire box of Little Debbie's. If we want to keep a healthy, maintain our health and maintain our a healthy body composition, we don't want to be eating a bunch of crap while we're in the tree stand. But at the same time, I get why people do it. It's quick energy, especially if you start to fade. But do remember, we are probably waking up early. We're probably not getting great quality sleep, or you're getting limited hours of sleep. So we're setting ourselves up already for a risk of, just exhaustion with a depressed immune system. Then we're going to be exposed to the elements for a while, which can further do it. So we want to make sure we are staying healthy, and having a bunch of crappy snacks is not great, especially, like I said, for body composition. So instead, the things I like to do, fruit's always a good one. And obviously noise is always a concern, but if you're having Little Debbie, it's in the wrapping paper. So let's just say it as it is. It's already in the wrapping paper, so you're going to be crinkling that. So I like to use fruit as a good staple, like apples, oranges, bananas. Apples are usually my go-to because they're not going to mush up in your bag, and they're very easy to eat. Pears are also good. They're more likely to mush up. But I'll generally take out like an apple and a protein bar, or an apple and a beef stick. That's a great thing you can do for a snack. If it's cold enough, some of the ready to drink protein drinks are just fine. You can take out protein powders and things like that. The thing here is it shelf stable? If it's shelf stable and it's warm out, it's fine if you drink all of it quick. If it's not shelf stable and it's warm out, you run the risk of it spoiling on you, unless you drink it fairly, or it's going to get up to like 75 or 80 degrees, but you're going to drink it in the morning. So you're taking it out first thing, and it's like within 2 hours you're going to drink it. Okay, that's probably fine with like a protein drink, as long as you're not adding like actual milk to it. Then keep it insulated. Sandwiches and wraps are a great thing. So for morning sets, I'll usually, if I'm just staying out till say 10 or 11, I'll usually just take apple, a protein bar, and I like getting some of the lower carb, higher fiber, or a beef stick of some sort. I'll take like that stuff out with me. If we have leftovers, I'll take that out. But generally, it's those things. I can eat them quickly, fairly quietly. Because the beef stick, if you can't like open it up, I just keep a knife on me, so I just cut it open like that. And those are it's going to give me protein, it's going to give me fiber, I'm going to get some carbs for energy, and it's going to be overall fairly satiating. If you're not trying to drink too much liquid, I know a lot of guys will try, and women will try not to drink too much out there. Obviously, like an apple is going to help hydrate you when you have something dehydrated like a protein bar. An apple will be helpful with that, though you should drink some liquids with it. So I like to keep that stuff in the bag. I can pack that up the night before and not worry about it, like not need to remember in the morning, because I'm not a morning person. But you can also just pack up other stuff like peanut butter and jelly is perfectly fine. Just don't go crazy with the peanut butter. You can get some higher protein wraps or high fiber wraps or bread, and get some protein and some fiber. So that's a big thing you're going to be looking for, is like protein and fiber. We don't need a ton of fats or energy. We need some, but we're not like, if you're hunting in a tree stand, you are not burning a shit ton of energy. So it is fine to not take out a ton of high energy things. You don't need like a Cliff Bar. That's too much, probably too much for most people, depending on your needs and everything. It's actually, they're not the worst, but if you're having that with other things because they're not super filling, it's probably too much. If you're having that as like your sole breakfast plus a little extra protein, that's probably fine. But those are some like options to do. Have like healthier things available to have in the stand. And some other tips I have. So especially once it gets cold out, a lot of people like having something warm, and that can be, for a lot of people, it's coffee first thing in the morning. But obviously we don't want to be drinking coffee the entire time, especially we don't want to be over caffeinated and then our target buck walks in front of us. Like, you're already jittery because you're over caffeinated, and now that adrenaline's going to hit, like, you're going to feel like you're about to have a heart attack. So what I've done instead is have a coffee and then make some herbal tea, or just hot water with lemon. Like on a cold morning, it's delicious. It's going to be hydrating. It's going to help keep you warm, but it's not going to caffeinate you anymore. Like you got enough caffeine already from the coffee, and now you're having this in the evening. Like if you go out for afternoon hunt, if it's fairly early afternoon, you might have some coffee with you, or you might have like some black tea. I like chai tea when hunting because like the spices are warming. But again, you can do the herbal tea. You can do hot water with lemon. And I say the hot water with lemon because in the morning, a lot of times, like I wake up and it's like get dressed, get out the door. Like I'm not waking up early enough to be like, oh, I'm gonna fiddle around and make breakfast. Like I'm waking up with just enough time to get dressed, grab my stuff, and get out the door and like use the bathroom. Like 1 cup of coffee, grab my food that's going in the bag, like I'm going to be eating in the stand, use the bathroom real quick, get dressed, go. That's how I do the mornings. And so it's like getting to the stand just in time. So I don't have time to sit around and like steep herbal tea because if you don't make tea, like you can oversteep it. So I don't have time to boil the water, let it sit for like 5 minutes. No, fuck that. If you have like an electric kettle, you can time and have that like time, like the water boiling when you wake up. Different story. We don't like have to make it when I wake up. Fuck that. I can just warm up really quick some water, squeeze the lemon in there, and as soon as the water's warm, pour it into the thermos and get out the door. That's how I like to do things. Not saying you have to do that, but it is an option for you for like something healthy, hydrating, and not water. Because I found I would get dehydrated because I would have water and the water would get cold. I'm cold. I don't want just regular water. But I always do carry actual like regular water because if you get down and start walking around or you're like looking for your deer, then all of a sudden you start to warm up. That's where that's really good. The other thing you can do is use electrolyte drinks. If you tend to like sweat or you're just like trying to hydrate but not use the bathroom a ton, do not overdo these though. There's someone who was just hospitalized not too long ago because she was having like 5 liquid IVs a day or 10 liquid IVs. Like you're supposed to use like 1 or 2 of those, like 2's at max. It's like for most people, unless you're like sweating a ton, like 1. So those can be good. Element, LMNT, I'm not sponsored by them. They have a chocolate one electrolyte drink. It's a salty chocolate one. Okay. Warmed up, it's pretty good. Cold, not very good. But warmed up, it's not terrible. I'm not saying it's great, but it's like a salty, very salty, kind of like a weak hot chocolate. Kind of almost like if you made like a hot chocolate out of protein powder. Like it's not super chocolatey, but it is chocolate. It is warm, and then it's a little bit salty. I think I added to coffee. It wasn't too bad. So added to something else that was warm and would work with it isn't terrible. That's the only one I know of that has a flavor that you can do warm. Because most of the time it's like these you drink cold. If it's cold out, you don't really want to drink it. So that one works well. They have like a habanero one, which would actually work and I think mango would work well with like the warm lemon and water. Those would probably work out well. I think it's like pineapple habanero, and it does have a little bit of spice. It's not crazy spicy. It's there, but that's another option. It's low calorie, but gives you something in the stand that's not just water and it's warm and helps keep you warm. Because that's the big thing for me. It's like staying warm is always priority. I'd rather be a little too warm than too cold. And then you can help regulate that by consuming warm liquids. And it's fairly easy with the right thermos and everything to stay warm. And I always take out way more liquids than I need. I'd rather have too much than too little in terms of like fluids. So I always take out, I rarely finish all of it. Obviously that's an issue if you're like hiking in really, really far and you're worried about weight. For me, I'm tree stand hunting like a 1/4 mile or a little bit further, maybe 1/3 of a mile. at most, so it's not that bad, and I can go and refill. Obviously, if you're doing an all-day hunt, it can be hard to keep them warm, but with the right thermos, you just time it out. Like, okay, I know, like, you can test this out now. Okay, if I use this big thermos, put it out in the morning, and see in the afternoon when you want it, maybe like 2-3 o'clock, is it still warm? Yes, no, maybe. If it is, great. Now you know, okay, maybe it's going to be cooled down a little bit more than it is now when it's 15 degrees out in December. But, it's going to still be warm if you're doing like an all day sit, and it 2-3 o'clock rolls around and you just need something warm. Like, we don't open it, we don't touch it until that time. And that's kind of the other way. Is like, this is for this time, this is for this time, and you can plan that stuff out. Same thing with snacks and food, etc. All right, that's gonna be it today, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Obviously some changes coming up, new logos are going to come out. I have to change the podcast community on Facebook and all that stuff. So I'm going to be doing all of that the day this is actually coming out. So Monday, I'll start changing that stuff over. So to Venson Gaines. And then if you have questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. If you want to be a guest, you are a hunter and you have your own company, you're a guide or anything like that, and you want to be a guest on this podcast, feel free to reach out to me and we can set up a time for you being a guest on this podcast. And then down below are some freebies and other things for you guys. So make sure, if you have not followed the show or given it a rating, please do so, as that helps the show get pushed out for more people to find it. But also down below are some coupon codes for you guys. Legion supplements. They have, I believe, a electrolyte supplement. I'm not completely sure, but I've been using their stuff for a while now. It's pretty good. And Seeking Health is down there below. They have an electrolyte supplement that's a little bit higher in potassium, lower in sodium. So those of you who are watching your sodium levels, that one might be better for you. Just, again, don't overdo potassium, guys. So actually, let me say that real quick. I did have an electrolyte balance from too much potassium. So be careful with body armor, guys. If you're like, oh, I'm going to hydrate with body armor. Earlier this summer, for my youngest daughter's birthday, I was drinking those like crazy, not realizing how low of sodium and high in potassium they are. And I was like, why am I so tired and sluggish? I had caffeine. I'm like, nothing's, like, what is wrong with me? I just feel weird. Then I looked at the bottle and I was like, fuck, I am pushing to have potassium toxicity. I forget the exact term for that right now, but I'm about to have real issues. So I just stopped drinking that, went in, had there were chips out. I didn't have any chips that day. I just started downing chips. Within 15 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better. So be careful with these electrolyte supplements, especially if you're having multiple, especially if you're thinking that they're going to hydrate you because you're sweating a lot. Sweat is primarily going to be salt. So if you're having an electrolyte supplement, make sure you are aware of the risk and everything, and try to limit it to 1, maybe 2 if you really need it per day. So anyways, down below, there's supplement, Legion, and Seeking Health, and I believe there's still levels down there below for coupons for you guys if you need some stuff. There's also freebies for the free macro guide, and then you can find me. There's going to be the Venson Gaines community, which is currently the Wild Nutrition Facebook community, but you can also find me on the more active community with the other Facebook link down below, the Commit to Fit Facebook group. So grab the Mastering Your Macros guide down below if you need help with your nutrition. If you don't need any of that stuff, please leave a review. Either write a review on Apple or just rate it 5 stars here on Spotify or Apple or whatever platform you're doing. That helps the show get pushed out so more people can find it. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I will see you guys next week.